Welcome to the Saul's Newsstand News Review for June 12, 2020. An article from the Daily Wire reports 70 coronavirus testing sites reportedly destroyed during riots. Federal officials are concerned about a spike in coronavirus from the widespread protests in response to the death of George Floyd, and officials now have to deal with a stunning 70 test sites destroyed by rioters. Coronavirus Response Coordinator Dr. Deborah Birx was reportedly concerned that the yelling by protesters could potentially negate the health benefits of wearing a mask and that the destruction of testing sites at those protests would set back efforts to contain the virus's spread. Birx voiced concern that once some of the violent riots started to become more peaceful, that people who were at higher risk of serious complications from the coronavirus, like the elderly, could start to attend the events and risk exposure to the disease. The news comes after numerous members of the D.C. National Guard have tested positive for COVID-19 in the wake of the mass protests across the nation's capital last week. The Daily Caller reports, news anchors blame coronavirus spikes on reopening while ignoring recent protests. Anchors on ABC and NBC blamed recent spikes in the novel coronavirus cases on states reopening, largely ignoring the protests around the country that have seen many come together in the streets. ABC's World News Tonight and NBC Nightly News both highlighted spikes in some of the first states to reopen after the virus shut down much of America. In addition to some states beginning to slowly reopen, America has seen hundreds of thousands of people spill out into the streets around the country in mass protests. The latter was not the focus, as hosts speculated what could be causing coronavirus spikes during segments on the two networks Tuesday. ABC's Matt Gutman blamed the rise in coronavirus cases on states reopening, blaming, quote, people gathering in large groups again at bars and restaurants. Arizona, one notable example that Gutman pointed out, is one of the states that has seen thousands of people turn out into the streets to protest. Gutman also chastised President Donald Trump for his plans to hold a rally, saying on Good Morning America Tuesday that cases are spiking because of a near-complete reopening. And finally, the Washington Free Beacon reports, McConnell mocks New York Times after paper begged for mercy from woke mob. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell mocked the editors of the New York Times for capitulating to liberal employees who demanded the paper pull an op-ed by Senator Tom Cotton.
One of our nation's most storied newspapers just had its intellectual independence challenged by an angry mob, and they folded like a house of cards. A jury of people on Twitter indicted them as accessories to a thought crime. And instead of telling them to go take a hike, the paper pleaded guilty and begged for mercy.
Cotton's essay, titled "Send in the Troops," made the case for using the military to quell rioting. The paper added an editor's note lamenting the, quote, needlessly harsh tone of the piece, and Times opinion editor James Bennett was forced out on Sunday. The ongoing drama has earned the paper derision from Cotton, McConnell, and many others. And that concludes your Saul's Newsstand News Review for June 12, 2020. For more political news faster, visit saulsnews.com.